Hello ADHDers! Hi, my name is Ky.
And I'm Lauren.
And I have combination-type ADHD and
I have hyperactive ADHD.
Today we're going to tell you a little bit about our ADHD journey and experience through our lives. I was diagnosed as a kid and you were?
Diagnosed as a 23-year-old.
Okay, so 23?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't really remember a lot about what my parents did to get me diagnosed, but I do remember being on Ritalin and then Dexedrine and then Adderall, and then kind of getting fed up with it in my first year university. But because I got fed up with it, I crashed and burned pretty hard. So I didn't realize, at the time, I was under the impression that everybody kind of grows out of ADHD when they become an adult. So obviously, if you're in university, you've got to be an adult, right? And at the time, I thought that anxiety was going to be responsible for most of my problems. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to tell the difference between anxiety and adult ADHD because of all the similarities and symptoms. And no one ever told me what adult ADHD looks like. I knew it existed, but how am I supposed to know that I have that when all of my symptoms look like anxiety? At that point, my anxiety and my depression were both really, really bad, and I was barely getting by. But I somehow convinced myself that maybe I'd never really had ADHD at all. I thought maybe it was all the anxiety, and hopefully I should have been diagnosed as a child with anxiety. Now I know better. I tried to medicate my anxiety and my depression to very little effect. Dang. And I spent a decade, more than a decade, in therapy. I learned stuff. That's cool. More recently, a family crisis happened, and I really focused on my mental health and my well-being, during which I remembered that this brilliant woman had recently told me that everything is ADHD. Everything is ADHD. Because I'd been focusing so much on my mental health, I could finally see the pattern. So I'm going to try out medication again in December, and I'll take you guys along with me.
Oh, look, a squirrel. I was your typical hyperactive ADHD kid with all of the symptoms of being a hyperactive ADHD kid. My brother was diagnosed when he was a child. I was not. Nobody ever thought to diagnose me. I was a bad kid. I talked to everybody during class. I got sent to the principal's office almost every single day in elementary school. I was just known as a bad kid, and that was really hard on me growing up. I actually wasn't diagnosed until I was 23, and nobody, even up until that point, told me to even consider getting checked for ADHD. It's something I figured out on my own from living with my brother and realizing that I had all the same symptoms as my brother, and he had medication, and even though you're not supposed to do this, I tried his medication one day and realized that it was the answer that I needed. Since I was diagnosed so late, I had to come up with all of my own coping mechanisms for dealing with having ADHD. Mm-hmm. And even after I was initially diagnosed, I had convinced myself that I had mild ADHD and that it was not that big a problem. And it's been a journey since then, realizing that it is nothing but mild. If anything, I have the worst ADHD of anyone I know. And I had to work so hard to get to where I got. I actually did a whole undergraduate university degree before my diagnosis, and it's been a journey. I have a master's degree. I'm an office worker now. ADHD has never held me back from doing what I want to do in life, and that's the message that I want to share with you all.
So I guess that's it for now, and come back again and we'll talk about symptoms, we'll talk about
my diagnosis story. I'm going to tell all about getting diagnosed at 23. I remember it perfectly, so I can give a really good account of what that's like.
We have a lot of tips, and we're going to share them, and we hope that you will join us for the journey.
Please subscribe, and we will see you next time.